Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2022. After the abysmal year of 2020 for everybody on planet Earth, and then the rough start to 2021. Geez, things didn't look good, did they? I just looked back through tracking, and in the first quarter of 2021, we had the best year we ever had. I had a great year, capped it off with a huge win with LD's Patrick. Now, it wasn't a stake race. It wasn't an open. It was an Elmer's at 2, but man, he looked really, really good. And we'll get to how good he looked in a little bit. But the first quarter of 2021, I had one victory. January, February, and the conclusion of March. One victory, I believe, as a driver. So it was a rough start to the year. Because of the way 2020 was, we weren't able to put together the workforce, the horses, the front line that we have right now with Locatelli, and we have White Tiger racing so well. A number of horses that are turned out for a little bit coming back. We didn't have those horses, right? They just weren't there, and they weren't accessible to us. But after the year we had in 2021, man, we got some really, really nice horses now. And it looks like we have a couple more on the way. A lot of people interested in the Meadowlands sale coming up, which is awesome. What we do at that sale, I don't know yet. Obviously, we have a number of people saying, Anthony, I know that you mentioned which way to the beach. How do you price that horse? How do you ensure he's sound? What do you do? Listen, there is a lot of questions floating around. The reason I haven't mentioned Captain Barbosa, I just think he's going to bring too much money. He just won at Yonkers. He's on his way up the classes. Now, the horse already made $600,000 and made his money for the most part. There's still money to be made, but he's made a lot so far. I think he's going to be, in this atmosphere, I think he's going to be grossly overpriced. Having said that, there's nothing out there saying that Which Way to the Beach is a better horse or will be a great horse. Here's the reality of the situation. To buy a horse like that, you are going to pay a good chunk of six figures, knowing that if things don't go right, that horse could be a 40 claimer. And if things go really well, that horse could be an open horse for 1, 2, 3 years or more. So the pendulum is quite a financial swing when it comes to a horse like that. That's why I have such trepidation when it comes to purchasing animals like that. Locatelli, I just thought was worth the money we paid for him, and I think that was backed up, one, by the way he's been on the track. He's been racing great. His last start, I told you guys, that's not his trip. You can't. I knew that as soon as I drove him. You can't be first over, and James was put in a tough spot with him again and ended up first over. You get that horse to the front, you get him covered up, on cover, tight on a helmet, he'll kick home hard. He's going to be a good horse for us, and most notably, he's racing against aged horses. That is incredibly important, and I need everybody to understand that moving forward. He might have just turned 4 today, but he's a long way from racing against 5-year-olds. That's a tough hill to climb. Luckily, I think he's a talented horse, and as I said, the price tag on him of $93,000 was only validated by the horses he raced against all year that sold for a lot more. Horses that he beat had sold for a lot more. So I think it was a good purchase, but when you're looking at one, pacers, and two, horses in that upper atmosphere, so to speak, there is such a huge swing that it is an incredible gamble. Now, the gamble pays off, smiles all around. If it doesn't, frowny faces for quite a while. But that's the game we're in, right? So if there is a lot of people out there that are looking, as I said to a couple of clients that called me specifically about that horse, and it's not that I am completely interested. Yes, I have a price in mind that I think I would be interested paying for that horse. But, a couple of big buts here. I would need him vetted out. So if we have another, I think it's important. If you're out there and you're saying, yeah, I want to be involved in purchasing a horse like that, and I rarely say the horse's name out loud, but how else do I address this? How else do I address this without, I could say, well, I do like a horse. There's only 2 horses in the sale that are of that caliber that I saw. And they're brothers, Which Way to the Beach and Captain Barbosa. Of the 2 of them, I'm almost leaning Which Way to the Beach. Now, keep in mind, Brett Pelling trains Which Way to the Beach. Best case scenario, you hold him at his form that he shows. Best case scenario, I don't think you're going to step horses up off Brett Pelling. We're not, anyway. So keeping him at par and finding places to race him in a way that you can, do well is really the key here. The open backup classes, you can bounce around from places like the Meadows, Northfield, Mohawk, throughout southern Ohio, Yonkers for that matter. We would, I'm not going to lie to you, we would be purchasing him with the sole interest, at least to start, to be racing here at Mohawk, with many other plans in place behind that. The good news is, if he isn't rested because he got hurt, that is another huge question we'll talk about in a minute. I know, we'll talk about it right now. The only 2 checks he ever missed in his life were his last 2. He had the 9-hole, 6-hole stake races with the top 3-year-olds in the country at the time. He looked tired. Okay, if he was, great. So my question is, if your plan was to sell him, why not sell him November 20th? Why wait till January to sell him? Now, maybe they were going to rest him a month and qualify him. Maybe January 10th. That might be the case also. But I find it very hard to quantify how you stop him on the 17th, rest him, only to sell him 2 months later. Why put the 2 months in? So those are questions that I'd have to ask. And then I think ultimately, if we're truly interested in a horse like that, I think it would be in our best interest and the best interest of the seller also to allow us to maybe vet that horse out, ultrasound and fluoroscope, and find out what's what. We just can't go writing checks for horses like that. It's just not going to happen. That's to assume that he goes for what I believe he should. He may go for twice that, and there's not much we can do about that. So that is one thing that I am mildly interested in. There's a number of horses in that sale. By a number, I mean 8 or 9 horses in that sale that fit my interest level, right? Those non-winners of 2, 3, 4 with 30, 40, 50, 60,000 on their card that have places to race, right? Maybe a class or 2 ahead of LD's Patrick right now, right, on their card, but look good. And I don't want a horse with 28 or 30 starts that we have to rest. I'm not buying a tired horse. Now, again, if you're going to give us the value, if you're going to give us lots of value for that, I don't mind resting a horse that we got for 25% less than we should have paid for. No problem. We can rest him. But there has to be, again, there has to be that value there. So a lot going on with this sale coming up, a lot of interest from a lot of our clients, but we're going to continue to build on that. If we get enough interest in any specific horse, whether it be the horse that I'd mentioned earlier, or just a plan that we have put in place, then so be it. That will be up to you, as they say. As I said, heading into a great year, what looks like a great year. And the reason it looks so good is solely because of you. You guys allowed us to switch things up a bit and virtually prepay for the Ohio sale, which was incredibly helpful. It set us up really, really well for the Lexington sale, which worked out well again. We were able to buy horses that I never fathomed I could buy. Think about it. We went to Ohio sale, the select sale, Lexington and Harrisburg, 3 biggest sales for the stable.ca and virtually in North America. And I bought the number 1 horse I picked out in all 3 sales. I rarely even get the horse my number 1 pick. I rarely get that horse. To go to the 3 major sales and get my number 1 pick from all 3 sales, it's just unheard of. It doesn't happen. So again, that's directly tied to you and your support of the stable.ca and how we chose to do things this year. We made a number of changes this year, right? We chose to race Bomb Hugger out of Ohio. And we're going to learn from all these. Did Bomb Hugger get tired at the end of the year? Did the horses get faster at the end of the year? I don't know. All I know is we have a nice 2-year-old that's going to be a nice 3-year-old that was undefeated in 4 starts in the New York Sires and 1 maiden. Made $106,000 and really did well all summer for the stable, for us in New York. Very proud of what she did and how she did it. Sure, would have loved to win the final or pick up a big chunk of change, but we didn't. It's the way it is. But she did show that she's a talented filly. We were able to pick up her full sister at the sale because her knees were a little offset. And I told everybody I didn't really love 5 fish species for 6 figures. but I really liked her for 40,000, and I knew that's what she would bring. You guys know this. We've talked about this as we go to the sales, how we approach the sales, what we do at the sales, how the sales look. We go over this all the time. And again, in reflection to how we got to where we are. I looked at 2021 quite closely when I got here. I was surprised. Because you forget, right? It's just everything blows by so fast when you're, one, having fun, but two, working your butt off. The start of last year was the start of the whispers of the pandemic lockdown again in Ontario. And in the blink of an eye, it seemed like my wife, God love her, because, if you're out there, you know how difficult a decision that would be. To uproot your entire family like that. Your entire family, 3 kids, myself, my wife. Load up our cars with clothes, our children, and head across the border to another country in the middle of a pandemic. It's a big weight to bear. And a lot of what took place in 2021, probably a lot more than you know, had a lot to do with Amy McDonald and less to do with Anthony McDonald. So I checked. In the first quarter of last year, January, February, March, I won 1 race. 1. That's how slow a start we get off to. You don't remember that. I didn't remember that until I just looked on Track It. Then in April, things got a little bit better. We started to get the horses rolling in Ohio. Also, I'm a Lovely Lady was good, right? Mama Knows Best got off to a great start. My Jazz struggled. She had lameness issues, right? We're going to have those. We have a big stable. We've seen it this week. We're going to see it in the future with horses. We can only do the best we can to mitigate any issues we may have moving forward. That's the best anybody can do, whether you run a sports team, high school, university, professional. You can only do the best you can. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be downfalls. You got to pick yourself up and keep going. So in May, we started to get everybody going. I see that White Tiger won his first race of the year in the bottom class at the Meadows. Now, for everybody out there, especially I said this with Tour de Lindy, made the break last week, and everybody's like, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? Go look at White Tiger's track record. White Tiger has a lot of breaks on his card. There's a lot of mistakes, has left a lot of money on the table, but is now a 6-year-old today, starting to put things together. Tomorrow, he's 6-1 in the Open at Mohawk. It's been a long, long time coming and a long road between the horse that set the world record as a 2-year-old that we had all our hopes hanging on and the horse he is today. A lot happened in between, and couldn't be prouder of the work we put into him, and it couldn't be any more certain that everything that happened up till tomorrow, Monday, today for you, was important in the growth and maturity of White Tiger. So we headed into June, right? Now we're in April, May. I got like 3-4 wins, right? It's not been a great year, but we're happy. We're getting our horses racing now. We're starting to see the babies start to polish up and look good. June hits and things explode. The qualifying days were incredible at Ohio. I looked at the first or second qualifying day. We were 1-1-1-1-1, 2-2-2, 3-3-3. It was just a great showing at the start. A lot of optimism heading in. Now things are starting to snowball. The year's starting to come together, right? And this blanket of despair just gets lifted off me and you and everybody associated with the stable. We head into June. Bomb Hugger qualifies great and just crushes them at will in her first start. She looks good. The Ohio horses start to come out in full force. All those ones in the qualifiers are now starting to turn into people looking at her horses very seriously. Of Tom wins in 58, her first lifetime start. 1-2 skip a few. Path of Totality is racing good at this point. Now, a lot of you know, you say, when somebody asked me, what happened to her? Her knees were bad her entire life, and they were starting to get a little bit worse at the end of it. Her last race, I believe, was a victory, if I'm not mistaken. I just decided enough was enough. This is a filly I want to breed. 1, I want her sound and happy when we do get her in full. 2, I want to breed her to a good horse, and I want to see what a pretty well-bred filly by Donato Hanover can throw if we find the right sire. I'm still looking for that sire, by the way. I don't know. There's so many new sires this year. I don't know what to do. I mean, last year when 3-Point Blue Chip started to look good, I'm like, oh, we'll breed her to Walner. You can't breed a Walner. One, they're too expensive, and two, you can't find the breedings. Green Shoe, yeah, a lot of money also for Father Patrick. That I like. A fantastic horse. But what else is out there? Captain Corey was dominant this year before he broke his foot. He's 8,500. Pedigree's a little skeptical. He's out of a pacing bred mare, but interesting nonetheless. I'm not going to try and read too much into it. Everybody likes to spend hundreds of dollars and look at breeding lines and, well, this one, I got a 3 on this side and 2 on that side. That's wonderful. You still have to have the horse fold out. It has to stay healthy. It has to go to a reputable farm and be broke and trained down as a yearling. Has to stay healthy and sound as it's training down. Has to get to the races, right? Now, keep in mind, it's been healthy and sound the whole time, because you know that happens a lot. Gets to the races, has to draw good, has to draw in against horses it can beat, and then has to get a good drive. If all those things go right, they all go perfect, if everything goes good, then those 2s and 3s and everything else on this side, then they come into play. Until then, just show me a good-looking athletic horse. I've said this a million times. I'm not going to profess to be a breeding guru. We're going to train every horse down the same and hope it gets there and hope it looks good. Now, obviously, pedigree comes into play. I'm not trying to diminish the importance of pedigree. That would be stupid. But at the same time, so much goes into getting to the winner's circle that I'll show me a good sire, right? Show me a good sire that raced good, and I'll breed my mare to it. That's pretty much where it is. Now, obviously, you can't, you know what I'm saying. You can't just go and breed the horse. There has to be, anyway. Yes. You can come in a minute. You go help mommy finish up, and then you come in. Why don't you go feed some carrots to Tiger and Cake? Go, go, go. So as I was saying, I'm not trying to diminish the importance. It's very, very important. Very, very important. But at the same time, I am trying to put you in the frame of mind I come from. If Captain Corey fits with Path of Totality, and there's people out there that can tell you if they do. I'm not one of them. On the page, if this horse fits with Path of Totality, then that's where we might breed her. And if Green Shoe is a better foot, then fine. We'll put the money together and breed to Green Shoe. We have 8 broodmares this year. 8. That's a lot. 8 more than I thought I would ever have. And I think it's important that we recognize that we likely will go broke breeding these mares. No two ways about it. But on the off chance we don't, let's breed them to the right sires. I love my 1%, our first homebred ever at the stable.ca. I beat them training Wednesday, 1 mile and 253 with 1 mile and 253 with being assaulted by a little girl. Yes. Where's the carrots? You gotta ask mommy. No. Yeah, you gotta ask mommy. No, can you ask Ava and Ollie to come get Addie? She wants to feed carrots. She's gonna find the carrots. So as I was saying, I don't know how I get off on that path with the broodmare, but we have 8 broodmares. We're gonna breed them this year, and I'm gonna ask for your help, people out there that do know the pedigrees well, to breed our mares to. So who do we have? Let's see if I can get this off the top of my head. We have the ones that are being bred right now. Stolen Dance is at Hickory Lane Farms. Stolen Dance is at Hickory Lane Farms. Muscle Chrome is at Midland Acres. Capistrano is at what the hell's the name of that place? Joe McLeod's place. And we have the filly here, the mare here. We have 3 or 4 that we're stopping. So we are going to need to breed all the mares to somebody this year. We have Captain Corey. We have, as I said, Green Shoe. Walner we're not going to be able to do. We have a number of horses in Ohio to breed to. Enterprise is an interesting horse. And Long Tom, one of my favorites in Ohio also, is one that we are very, very interested in going to. A new sire is also showing up. I see at Midland Acres. He's by Ready Cash, Ready for Money, I believe his name is. Another interesting prospect when it comes to getting some French blood into our horses, if that's what interests you. Who else do we have? I feel like I'm missing a ton of horses. International Money looked incredible this year. We bought 6 Tactical Landings. I hope they turn out good. They certainly look good so far. So very interested in those horses. Any of those horses. So for those of you out there that are the pedigree people, I know a ton of you out there that are. Steve obviously is, and Larry likes to message me with input when it comes to the breeding. Any of you out there that have any input, Chip, any of you guys out there, send me what you think. And we're going to make the final decisions at some point in the next coming weeks, I would imagine. As I said, we do have 8 mares. Okay, let me see if I can do this again. Stolen Dance, Muscle Chrome, Capistrano, Path of Totality, My Jazz, We're Thinking of Breeding, is 5. Dewey Ann is 6. 6. Who else do we have? Compass Rose DC is going to be bred this year, 7. Missing 1 horse. I know we have 8. Anyway, I'll send a list out this week. You guys can have a look at it and see what you think, where we're going to go, and what we are going to do with the broodmares. So, I know how I get off this now, because Path of Totality raced good in July. She raced good right up until the time we stopped her. Mama Knows Best was racing good. Slim Jimmy was now on everybody's radar in Ohio with a win in 56-1 at Northfield Park. Stonebridge Simba. And then, of course, the big news from July was the sale of Mischievous Rose. Now, a lot of people wanted to keep Mischievous Rose, but at the same time, it was not going to happen. You know, we were offered a lot of money for the filly. She was unproven. She was a filly that was sent here because her pedigree was unproven, right? There was some spots in the second and third dam that were interesting, but that first dam was extremely weak. And she was sent here to be trained down and hopefully look like she did, so that the full sister coming behind her would do well for Haley Moore also. So we were happy that it worked out well for us. It ended up working out well for Determination also with Mischievous Rose. And then the selling of the full sister for just north of 70,000, I believe, this year was also good. So a great testimonial for small breeders that send us horses. Obviously, Mischievous Rose was a great story of 2021 for them and for us. And as we head into August, we now see our boy Yes start to materialize. Wins in 53 or 54, 55, something like that. But he's now starting to get better. We made a number of changes across the board on Yes. His shoeing, his equipment, everything. I just remember coming in one day, looking at Jason, just saying, strip them all down. Let's pretend we've never seen this horse before and go from there. Said the same thing to the vet. Stop thinking about what you did to Yes. Just pretend you've never seen this horse before. And that's exactly how we got to where Yes is today. We stopped worrying about Yes and started focusing on the 4-year-old man of many missions or 5-year-old man of many missions that was in front of us. That's what we started to do, and that's how we got to Yes. And that's what you have to do sometimes, right? And this goes back to a horse like LD's Patrick. Ben Bergeron is a world-class trainer, a meticulous and very intelligent horseman. But sometimes you get in a rut, right? Sometimes horses don't fit into your program, and sometimes you get into a rut and you just can't get around it. It's not easy to do sometimes. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just need a fresh set of eyes or a horse to move on for things to start moving forward. It happens. And when it came to LD's Patrick, what I saw maybe not was what Ben saw. That's not to say that if we bought 5 horses off Ben Bergeron, don't think for a second that 5 horses were coming forward. It's not going to happen. Guy's just too smart, and this particular horse was one of the horses that I felt could be falling through the cracks. Maybe this is a horse that was just frustrating, was in the middle of the order, and was really annoying, and maybe that feeling was reciprocated, right? Maybe the horse didn't want to do his work. Maybe he didn't get along with with the Bergeron outfit at that point. It happens. Not the end of the world. There isn't a stable on earth that can train any horse. No, none. Not one. I don't care who you are, how smart you think you are. There is no one that can train any horse. Anybody can say they can, but there's going to be a horse that falls through the cracks that somebody else is going to get that comes forward. And listen, winning the numbers of 2 does not mean that he came forward. Does not mean that, he's obviously, we're not going to pay him into the Elite Lop or we're not getting invited to the Elite Lop or paying him into the Canadian Trotting Classic. He's a nice horse, but he's a long way from being, a story worth telling. Just a nice horse. He's the horse we bought him to be. So same thing with Yes. This was a horse that we had to stop and say, okay, this isn't working. What do we do moving forward? Forget about the horse, yes. Think about the horse in front of you. And that's how we started to get Yes back to the races. And he has been awesome. He's, now, I'm racing him Sunday. You're not going to see this till Monday. But I suspect I'm going to get him off the gate a little bit better than Ronnie Wren did last week. Because he will. He'll start to fall off the gate and put a couple of steps in. You have to have him revved up and his nose buried in the screen. And then he'll trot out of the gate. But driving him for the first time, you would never know that. And you would never think that. So certainly no blame going around for last week, but I can assure you he's going to get off the gate a little bit better on Sunday than he did the previous Sunday. Still in the month of August, Bomb Hugger's now starting to assert herself as one of the leaders in New York. Sweet on Pete looks incredible. Here's another horse that I think Jason and everybody associated with the stable did an incredible job managing this filly. This is a filly we took our time with. Buckeye. Then she went to the Sire Stakes and blasted forward. Her last two starts, she made that uncharacteristic break coming to the half and the final, and that was a heartbreaker. And then that last start in Delaware, the track just simply wasn't fit. This is a filly that wore a lot of weight and bar shoes up front, racing on a disgustingly sticky track. That's all that happened. I'm not going to let her year be defined by a terrible track and an uncharacteristic break. This filly was an exceptional filly all year. One of our best fillies. Her and Purple Aura really... And Purple Aura had a great end of the year, so I guess you would have to elevate her to the top. But Sweet on Pete is no joke. She's going to be a legit powerhouse as a sophomore, and I can't wait to get them both back going. Now, Slim Jimmy's still doing good things. Bomb Hugger, Sweet on Pete, Purple Aura. The Pacing Colts in August all won at Bowling Green, and that was the Luck of the Dragon, Procrastinator. And Procrastinator, the reason I like this horse, I'm hoping he'll be a little healthier this year. He looks awesome when he's over there right now at Northfield. I saw him last week. That win at Bowling Green by open lengths was barefoot. He lost a shoe in the warm-up. We couldn't find it. Can't race him with 3 shoes on. We're at a fair. I just pulled the other one off and raced him barefoot, and the horse was very, very good. And a horse that I enjoyed racing all year. In fact, the one start I felt so terrible, I drove him so bad, was Confederate Cruiser. He's not going to be a sire stake horse, but he's going to be a fun horse for us to race all year. And a horse that is virtually his twin right now is Victor Cruz. So hopefully we'll have a good year with Victor also. Blue Bayou Deal in the month of August came from Ontario and just lit things up in New York when she first got there. 56-3, last quarter 26-4. Just watch that race and how powerful that filly was down the lane. Such an impressive mile, such an impressive filly. She got fighting with the other horses in the field and got kicked when we brought her back in. She's okay. There was some heat in her stifle. We know it's there. We're addressing it. There's no structural damage under x-ray or ultrasound, so she'll be fine. We're just taking our time with her. Unbeatable Camp had an explosive second place finish, trotted 54. But here's where we learned something else this year. Through the training and the heat, maybe throw in a little sickness from now and again throughout the summer, we saw some of our 2-year-olds start to bleed, right? This was not a phenomenon known just to the stable. This was everywhere. And it was only accentuated last night with the last start of the year. LD's Patrick jogs. Here's the thing is that we look, right? We're looking all the time for things that may or may not be festering under the surface. You would think a horse that won as easy as LD's Patrick last night, you'd be like, high fives all around, go home, race him next week, and he'd go out and race like shit. I can tell you why. He bled last night. He won the race convincingly after he came out of the test barn, brushed the horse, everybody's happy. Take him and get him scoped. We got him scoped and found a uncomfortable amount of blood. Now, he's not a Lasix horse, so we can treat that. We can treat him up. We can switch gears and change the way that we prepare him to race. But Lasix will be the first remedy, and he's on Lasix. But we don't want to go putting a bunch of 2-year-olds on Lasix, right? We did put who's a 2-year-old we put on Lasix at the end of the year? Pete wasn't on. Yes. It'll come to me. The hell's wrong with me? Yeah, 3-point blue chip. I had a wonderful discussion with Jeff Carell at the Meadowlands on the final of the Valley Victory. And his position was, I talked to people and they said 2-year-olds shouldn't be on Lasix. I think that's not his fault. I think that is a grossly vague and almost ignorant statement for trainers to make, overarching. right? And if you're out there and your trainer saying, absolutely not, okay, tell me why. Because 10 years ago, a trotter that trotted in 56 was an incredibly talented 2-year-old at 2. Now, might be a grassroots horse. The horses are faster, stronger, training harder. To believe that they just shouldn't, couldn't, or wouldn't bleed would be insane in my mind. And it's always the older horsemen that are the ones that are saying, 2-year-olds shouldn't be on Lasix. I agree. A decade ago, there shouldn't have been a 2-year-old on Lasix. And I'm not saying or advocating for all 2-year-olds to be on Lasix, but I can assure you one thing. 3 Point Blue Chip's season was over with that 4th in the Breeders' Crown had we not put him on Lasix. He was not going to Dover. He was not going to the Valley Victory. He was going to the field. That's where he was going. And it wasn't that he got some miracle drug for the people out there, and I had a very spirited argument with a couple of horsemen about whether it's a PED, performance-enhancing drug. You're not enhancing a horse's performance by allowing him to do his work properly. I'm sorry. The classification of some sort of PED with Lasix is just stupid in my mind. It's not. They'd say, well, you put them on and they'll go faster. No, they won't. You put a normal horse on Lasix, it doesn't bleed, it won't go a bit faster. I'm sorry. And if it does, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you should get your horse looked at. Lungs are a big place, right? Just because you don't see blood right away doesn't mean the horse isn't bleeding either. And again, I'm not advocating for Lasix on 2-year-olds. I'd rather not. In fact, we stopped Unbeatable Kemp, as I was saying, because he bled. He bled in Kentucky. We had him scoped. I spoke to Dr. Roberts down there. He had set out a regiment in which we would prepare the horse to race in his next event. No Lasix, and he didn't bleed. He didn't race good. He didn't bleed. Brought him back to Northfield Park. Same regiment. Trained him up a little harder. Now, when we trained him, we did train him on Lasix. Be completely upfront with everybody. Won his next start. Now, this was 3 days out. You're allowed to do that. The horse wasn't even entered into go yet. We trained him up hard on Lasix, raced him, won convincingly by open lengths in 56, no blood. No mucus, no pimples, no nothing. Took him down to Kentucky 6 days later. There's the key. 6 days later, and raced him in the heat, and he bled. Stopped with him. Turned him out in the field. I'm still formulating at this point what I'm going to do with these 2-year-olds, a couple of them that are bleeding. Talented horses. And it wasn't until I spoke to the veterinarian at the Meadowlands on Breeders' Crown Night on the phone, and she explained to me that she was a thoroughbred vet. She'd seen so many horses that bleed, and truthfully speaking, it used to be you thought a 2-year-old bled, you turned it out, you brought it back, and you can manage it. She said, it's not true in a lot of cases. She goes, we've turned 2-year-olds out for upwards of a year. She goes, and treating their lungs the whole time aggressively brought them back, and then you look and 3 starts into the 3-year-old season, they're on Lasix. She goes, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that anymore. She goes, so I'll make it as simple as I can. You can turn him out. He bled enough. I think it was 1.5 out of 5. He bled enough, you can turn him out, or you can put him on Lasix. But she goes, I will tell you this. If you like this horse, I wouldn't race him again as a 2-year-old without Lasix. I thought that was probably the most concise way to put it, and the most intelligent way to put it in an easy format, right? I was very, very thankful. As I said before, somebody had asked me, I'm a little embarrassed, I can't remember the lady's name. Very smart, technical person, and quite frankly, if it wasn't for that conversation with that veterinarian at that point, 3 Point Blue Chip's year would have been over. So I'm glad we had the conversation. We put him on Lasix. He won the matron, raced great in the Valley Victory, and the rest is history. It looks like he's going to be a great sophomore for us. So this idea of Lasix, the stigma that goes along with this really needs to be chopped up, right? We need to stop. This is the one case you're going to hear me say this. We need to stop listening to old horsemen tell us about what needs to and not need to happen with Lasix, and ask the medical professionals, right? I'm really against this abolition of Lasix across the board in horse racing. I think it's going to be an extreme detriment. Again, when I was in New Zealand and Australia, there's no Lasix there, and I got talking with a high-ranking official over there, and they virtually looked down on Western racing because of Lasix and the drugs that are over there. Well, first off, there's plenty of positive tests in New Zealand and Australia, so clearly people are trying to plug their horses up. And I said, when you look at the export of a ton of these Australian, New Zealand horses. He said, yeah, I think that's great. It's good to have those horses moving. I said, the funny thing I noticed, though, is when almost all of them land on North American soil, they have an L beside their name. It's not Louisiana, by the way. It's Lasix. Because in New Zealand, Australia, if you bleed twice, you're banned for life. That's the way it is. And I just think that's such a myopic view of horse racing. I'm not certainly saying that they can do what they want in Australia and New Zealand, but I am firmly against, as I said, abolishing Lasix in North America. I think it would be catastrophic for racing here in North America. My personal view. Take it for what it is. So, got off topic again a little bit. We're talking about Kemp and how he bled in Kentucky. We opted to turn him out rather than put him on Lasix. His year was over. Same thing happened with oddly enough the other Walner. I'm not saying anything. Just saying we had two horses bleed that were good horses. They were both Walners. We put the other guy on Lasix. Full speed ahead. He wins the Matron and is fourth in the Valley Victory. A great ending to the year for us. You start to see in September, we start to pick up some horses. We bought Donato Patriot K, Rose Run Why Not, won a couple of races and then was sold later in the fall. We start to switch gears now. In the fall, we move away from staking programs, starting to wind down. What are we going to do for late fall into the winter? We start to pick up horses and sell our other horses. Tanzanite Tricks, we moved. Tipsy and Dixie, Rose Run Why Not, Donato Patriot K was claimed, Perfect Record, Northern Blizzard, moved all these horses for various reasons, but again, ended up moving other horses into the position. Northern Blizzard we sold for various reasons and replaced them with Eldese Patrick. Eldese Patrick thumped him last night, and we got more money for Northern Blizzard than we paid for Eldese Patrick, so a win-win-win in that regard. Locatelli, we picked up at the sale, and we're looking for another horse, maybe like Locatelli in the next sale. We're trying to stack the deck where our workforce, our front line of the stable.ca for the winter is strong. Now, we turned out High Gear No Fear. He didn't turn out what we want him to be yet, but there's no reason to believe he won't be in the future. Brave World was a little tired. We turned him out. Peanut, don't believe me, just watch, turned him out to bring him back in. We kept Mama Knows Best. I just didn't think I wasn't selling her for that at Harrisburg, so we kept her, which is another telling sign. Rather than drag these horses to Harrisburg, I don't know why we wouldn't just put them on gate. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality of the situation. The fees attributed to Harrisburg factored in with... now, I had this very conversation with somebody, and I agreed with them. It was Bob. I agreed with Bob, but there are some horses that I think are better sold at Harrisburg. Tipsy and Dixie, we got a lot of money for, right? I think we would have got that at least for her at Harrisburg. Whereas a horse like Mama Knows Best had a couple of poor lines coming in, and we were going to be underpaid for her. I don't know what the last live bid was, but we ended up buying her back for $23,000 or $24,000, and I have absolutely no qualms with that, none. I think that mare is going to be good for us as a 4-year-old until we choose to sell her, and at that point, it will be for our price, a favorable price for the stable.ca, and I certainly have no problem keeping her. Kept I'm a Lovely Lady for the exact same reasons. So again, we start to build up our workforce into the fall, start to shut down some of our stake horses, and move these horses in. Rose Above It raced the other day. Was he awesome? No, wasn't awesome. But at the same time, he'll get better. He'll get better, and then if he plateaus again... Listen, there's an entire state of Pennsylvania that would love to have a horse like Rose Above It also. So looking at we went into the end of November, into December, the highlight of December for us, obviously, New Year's Eve was a victory last night. We're third place second in the Open with White Tiger. Locatelli showed that he was well worth the money we paid for him. He's going to be a nice horse for us. For me, I ended up going to the Drivers' Championship for whatever reason in London. Thought I was a winner heading into the last two legs, but unfortunately, the youngling, James McDonald, who, I don't think it's jinxing him to say it. He is an absolute shoo-in for the O'Brien Award. If he doesn't win the O'Brien Award this year, they should just stop having the O'Brien Awards because there's nobody that was in his league. I didn't realize it till last night. I teased him because he didn't have a great night last night, and I teased him, but he beat them by like 64 wins in the driver's standings in Mohawk this year. Just an incredible feat. Consummate professional, too. James has turned into a super professional, a great kid, and a wonderful set of hands. He is going to be the O'Brien Award winner this year, no doubt about it. The Drivers' Championship was fun nonetheless. I really don't like losing to James, but nevertheless, I think it was a fair look at how 2021 went. My win on LD's Patrick elevated me to exactly UDRS of 300 last year. So a great year for me, a great year for us, and a fantastic year for James. Just a great year. So as I said, I looked quick. What kind of year, how do we manage our stable this year, and what kind of year did we have? Well, I'll just tell you what. Harry Polton ended up with a UDRS of 288. Jason McGinnis, 307. Mario Bergeron, 350. And although Johnny, Johnny didn't really want the rigors and stress of being a trainer, right? And I don't blame him. Johnny likes his job now, and I love having him around. He's good with the babies. He shows up. He knows what he has to do, and he's a hard worker. Johnny, when he was training, also had a training average of 336. So, and this isn't that we did anything different, but we did. We did a lot of things different, but it was all about management, right? We moved the horses that weren't doing well for us or really didn't look like they had a path forward. We moved those horses out, replaced them with horses that could. Our yearlings that turned into 2-year-olds had a huge year last year. Ohio, multiple stake winners. Pennsylvania, we didn't win any major stakes aside from our girl Ty One On, who had a great year, finished third in the finals. Aside from her, we had some good luck in the Stallion Series, the Grassroots. We were a winner, a huge mile from that horse that day. Amor Diener parked the whole way and winning 57. So good things, good expectations for him this year. Ty One On, I think there could be something there with this filly. She put on a ton of weight. She looks so good right now. Super excited to race her in 2022. So Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky with Blue Bayou Deal, New York, Bomb Hugger, right? Very few jurisdictions last year. We won the race. We won a race with Jazzy Judy in Delaware. We won the Matron. Our only 2 Grand Circuit event wins, I think, last year. 1 was the Arden with Ty One On, and 2 was the Matron with 3 Point Blue Chip. Ontario, Grace did great for a filly that was really a throwaway. I think she made $90,000 or $100,000. Mischievous Rose looked good, and then we ended up moving her. Century Invictus, pace 52, 53, did good things last year. We had winners in every jurisdiction across the board in North America last year, and it was an incredible season. And this all rolled into the sales in the fall of 2021. We were able to pick up, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. You think about it, and there's many of you out there that watch these videos that have been with us for a long time, so you know where we came from, right? You know where the stable started. It started in my head as a dream. It ended up being a ton of hard work put together. Lo and behold, fast forward 7 years. For the last 3 years, we're the biggest stable in Canada, the fastest growing fractional ownership in standard racing on earth, and we have horses everywhere. In fact, we have 5 in Australia. So, you think of the pedigrees that we used to go after, right? Day one at Lexington was have a few beers, watch the horses, watch the rich people, have a pissing match. And that's pretty much what Lexington was for us. This year, day one Lexington, day one Harrisburg. We were active, right? We were active. Look at the pedigrees we got. Carter Michael Dio out of Brigham Dream. Talk about strong families. Not many more strong than this one. Carter Michael Dio, a huge pickup for us. We don't talk about him enough, but we will. I told you guys he had one of the most optically pleasing gaits of any of the horses we broke in quite a while. He is a good looking horse. Carter Michael Dio, a huge pickup for us. Crantini, there's Macho Martini's brother, out of a very, very strong family. Huge pickup for us also. And the direct relative to him is Lady All-Star here in Ontario. If you look, the pedigrees are very, very similar. They're out of 2 different sisters, right? One is out of Peach Martini, the other one's out of, I forget the name. 5 Fish Species. We ended up with Bomb Hugger's full sister. High Enterprise was my top pick in Ohio. We ended up with her. Horn Player, Alarm Detector's sister by Tactical Landing. We gambled big on Tactical Landing this year, and from what I can see on the track, in the barn, and the horses in general, we're going to win that bet this year, I think. Landing Pad, another Tactical Landing, great family, Modern Family's direct relative. Landing Strip, there's a horse that has not one but two world champion siblings. One in Pinkman, who won everything, won the Hambletonian, and two, I'm Pink 2, the fastest 3-year-old trotter, first 3-year-old trotting filly ever to go sub 150. These are his siblings. He's a half brother to both, and looks fantastic. James says this colt's got everything going on. Leaps and bounds. Again, Poof She's Gone's family. An incredible looking filly. She looked great again. Open house day and training the other day. Just looked fantastic. These are just the highlights. Merchant Man. Remember I'm telling you about Merchant Man. Remember that name. I'm telling you at Christmas time 2021. No, January 1st, New Year, first day of the year 2022. Merchant Man's going to be a good horse for us. I'm almost certain of it. Our first homebred, my 1%. Great name, good looking horse, already bigger than his mother and looked great. Put the hobbles on him for the first time and he thumped them training the other day. He looked awesome. Oh my gosh, there's Handover Bell's brother. Very good looking colt. You're not going to see him accelerate forward probably until March or April when we can put a sufficient amount of muscle on him. Another horse in the same boat as him would be Warwee Yuri. Very, very similar. If we can get enough muscle on their frame, you're going to see these horses start to come forward, but probably won't be till February or March. Real Fear might be the biggest surprise of the entire year. I love this little horse. He does everything perfectly, tries hard, and loves his work. I love this little horse. Where are we at now? Sipping on My Shine might be a surprise for everybody this year. Nothing jumps out as incredible pedigree, but if you go back and look at my yearling videos when we went to Hickory Lane Farms, this is a horse I told you. I said not a ton of stuff to look at on the page. I just love the way this horse looks. He looks incredible on the track. I'm going to give you two horses to watch. The first one will be Merchant Man. The second will be Sister Solange. We know the tactical tactor and these horses, Una Madonna, they were bought to be good. They're supposed to be good. I'm talking about the ones that might have not caught your eye right away. Sister Solange and Merchant Man are incredibly good-looking horses. Smoking Hot Irish Girl, this is Yes's sister. Yes was never put together nice. Go back and look at his yearling videos or his training videos. Go back and look at the commentary. He was a run-of-the-mill, Clifford the Big Red Dog. He was nice, but he wasn't nice until he was nice. And that's how Yes was. And Smoking Hot Irish Girl is put together perfect and looks great. Spitfire Overseas is Danny's top pick in the entire barn. Big, the biggest horse we have. He's powerful and he just busts around this half just as fast as you want to go with him. Spitfire Overseas, a lot of people watching this guy very closely. Swinging Senorita, another horse that we like that's heading into. So I'll be honest, High Enterprise, Swinging Senorita were both sold by Springhaven. They liked them so much they ended up keeping small pieces of both of them. They didn't have to. Jeff loves Swinging Senorita. Zanina loves High Enterprise. I love them both. Horses. Good people. We've done a lot of business with them, so I'm glad they stayed involved, and I can't wait to see these horses race this year. Obviously, Tactical Mounds fell down the other day. This filly's beautiful. We're very, very fortunate and very lucky. Her knees looked gross. The job, I don't often say thank you so much to the surgeon, right? I just expect you're paid top dollar to do a great job. I expect you will, right? And maybe that's a little crass. That's a little rude. I went out of my way to text Natalie Cote and say, thank you so very much for the job you did on Tactical Mound's knees. I can't believe how good they look. I can't believe it. The job that they did at the University of Guelph, it's not like it looked like she was hit with a chainsaw, but you could tell there could be some damage there. She only fell down jogging, but the track was very hard. Baby skin, as you know, was soft and just peeled back like a grape. It could have been bad, right? I was optimistic. It's skin. But there are under that skin, not far behind that wall of skin, is ligament, tendon, joint, bone. Just a professional job through and through done by Natalie Cote. It was just an incredible job. So again, I'm sure she doesn't watch these videos, but thank you again. This is a beautiful filly. Again, we're talking about a lot of tactical landings here. They look good on the track. Tailgate Buzz, Taiwan's full brother, looks fantastic. Tactical Tactor won easily on open house day and looked good. So horse got a head start. He's got a great attitude and a great gait. I like this guy. Una Madonna, as I said, looks fantastic. James says, same thing I saw in her video. The most beautifully gaited horse we may have ever bought. I told you I love Carter Michael Dio, optically pleasing, beautiful horse, but just a picture in motion, very much like Carter Michael Dio in a different way. Una Madonna's just got this very relaxing gait to her, and she's a beautiful filly. As I said, Warwi Yuri, you're going to see Warwi Yuri in March, right? Don't get too worked up about Warwi Yuri in February and March. He'll come forward. In fact, I trained him the other day, and I thought that was as good as I've ever seen him. And he was better than I actually thought he'd be. I really have to just say, okay, take Warwi Yuri with a grain of salt, right? Big, strong, dopey, floppy gated horse. It's just going to take time. Just going to take time. He actually looked better the other day than I thought he would. So very, very impressed with Warwi Yuri right now, and made a couple little shoeing changes to Warwi Yuri. So hopefully he'll come forward in a big way for us in a very short time. Not a short time, March. So 90 days. We're going to talk about Warwi Yuri in 90 days. So with that, one of the longest opening videos I ever made, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick recap of what I saw. What I saw in 2021. Just a huge year for the stable, which hopefully we kept going into another huge year for the stable with the horses we bought. Listen, guys, we're in the business of gambling. You know that. I know that. We made a huge gamble in 2022, heading into 2022, and I can't wait to see what happens. So thank you all again for your confidence in us, in me, in the stable. I can't wait to see what happens over the next 6-7 months. Take care. I hope you had a great New Year's Eve. Hope you had a great, even better 2022 along for the ride with us. Take care.